I believe we're in phase 1 now, thanks to Patrick Perry, and it's going to go from January of 2010 to February of 2011 to test the instrument selection, development of the technical feasibility document, business and cost model, legislative impacts. And phase 2 will be from March 2011 to August 2012 to do the finalized technical design documents, assessment portal, data repository, pilot tests with participating institutions. So I guess the soonest it would come into being would be September of 2012, and that's optimistic, but we're working on it, so that's, I think, very nice. So we're not meeting, but things are happening. And I believe that's the end of my report.
I have a question.
You have a question? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you referred to the master plan report that was taking place, and it has been referred to over the last couple of days. Could you just give maybe the only one that's unaware, but that would seem to be a particularly important activity that's taking place. Could you give a status report as to where it is and when it's expected to be completed and
what it is? It's not really a master plan, I'm sorry. Executive Vice Chancellor Marlene Garcia will answer this.
There is a committee, the Joint Legislative Committee, to review the master plan that just started this year. And every decade or so, the legislature engages in a review of the master plan for higher ed. So that process has just been started, and Assemblymember Ira Ruskin is the co-chair, along with Gloria Negrete-McLeod, who are overseeing this on behalf of the Senate and the Assembly. They have 4 hearings scheduled this year, 2 of which have already taken place. One is scheduled for next Wednesday, March 10th. And the topics have been student eligibility, participation rates, access, and this upcoming hearing is focused on efficiency, transfer, and coordination between the segments. And then the final hearing will be focused on accountability. So, and college affordability was the second hearing, actually. That was the focus of the second hearing. And they've invited a number of representatives from all the segments of higher ed. I know Jane Patton has spoken, Reed Milburn from the students have spoken, and a number of us from the system have spoken. Vice Chancellor Linda Michalowski will be speaking next week and talking about the intersegmental transfer task force work. And I think that this year's review is something that they don't expect this to continue beyond this late spring or early summer, and then they're hoping to have some legislation to tweak various areas of the master plan that they see fit. But I don't think they're planning on reforming the entire master plan. And I think the feedback they've been getting at the hearings thus far is that it's not so much that the master plan is broken, but that the resources have been dwindling when, in fact, demand for higher education has been growing. And that's been the constant message, and not just a complaint about this particular budget year or last year's budget year, but rather the disconnect between demand and resources and how we can realign that and move forward in responding to California's needs for college education.
I appreciate the update. It just seems to me that it is critical for us in terms of our effectiveness in performing our transfer role, that we be very clear on the elements of transfer that might be barriers to our effectiveness, that flow from the top and not necessarily from our end. And seeing this review appears just periodically, there aren't many opportunities to influence in that forum, and I would assume we're doing all we can to be very specific in outlining where we think there may be barriers that affect students from the community colleges transferring to either CSU or UC. I recognize the resource problem, but I also recognize that even in the best of times, there have been challenges in community college students being accommodated as readily as many of us thought that they should be. So I would hope that we're advancing our position so that our mission is not hindered in any way.
Thank you. And please share any details you have with Chancellor Scott, too, because he's very involved with this. Thank you. And on that note, and Jerry, you handed out this booklet, I'm not quite sure.
Carrie Carball's Director of Communications.
Okay.
Said Chancellor wanted you all to have that.
Okay.
I'm not really sure. They're not in here. Just happy to pass it out to the board.
And do you know much about this, Jose?
Yes,
I can
Preparing
speak about
students
it.
for the jobs of tomorrow?
Terry Carball was the author of it.
Uh-huh.
And the information taken from, a number of our reports that we've
Okay.
been producing. So it's actually a very good working document to advertise our effectiveness in preparing students for the workforce today.
Okay, and I'm thinking about it as we do our Advocacy Day today also. Last year, one of our big messages is the community colleges were the economic recovery units for the state of California, so this just puts it in a written form, so thank you very much. That's great.
Madam Chairman, can I just quickly comment on this?
Yes, Member Ramos?
Thank you. Just have had an opportunity while we've been talking to peruse this. This is a superb piece of work. And as you say, for the meetings that we're going to be having later today with policy decision makers, very appropriate. And also for some of the major funders that I hope we'll be interacting with through the foundation. This is a very, very informative, quick, digestible package. And I commend the communications staff for putting this together. Excellent work.
Madam President, I
Thank you.
think that Vice Chancellor Garcia had something to add.
Oh, yes.
I was just going to explain that this, in fact, was designed in response to the growing number of questions about our specific role in strengthening the economy. And today, it's just hot off the press, and you'll be using this as part of your advocacy. Everyone will get copies of this, but you'll also be able to take some of these as leave-behinds to give to legislators when you meet with them today.
Okay, thank you very much. We're on to the public forum part of our program. I'm wondering if the census people are here. No? Shall we call them to give them a chance? What'd you say? Is there any new business? Let me go back to the census people. They obviously have handed out some information to us. Do you know anything about this, Member Izumi? You're a link.
Well, Regina Wilson, who is going to be speaking to us hopefully when she makes it over here, is the representative from the governor's Complete Count Committee. The governor has put together an advisory task force from various communities around the state to ensure that there is a complete count of all Californians in the census. And one of the key areas that they want to address is the community colleges, education in general, but especially the community colleges because of the size of our system. And they have done presentations to the on Vice Chancellor Terry Carball's conference call with all the PIOs at the community colleges in order to get their message out about the census kits that are available, and that how there could be coordination between the census, the governor's office, and the individual community colleges about making sure that all students are counted as well. So that, I think, is what Ms. Wilson is going to be talking about when she comes here, to just talk for a few minutes about the census and the outreach to the colleges that she and the governor are attempting to do before the deadline comes up for the census.
Do you have a sense of when the census counting starts and when it ends?
April the 1st.
April 1st it
Yeah,
begins?
let me interject some, if I may,
Sure.
Madam Chair.
Sure.
I'm also part of the census group through the chamber, the Black Chamber, and I'm one of the quote-unquote African-American trusted voices with the program, trying to make sure that the word gets out to the community, not only the African-American community, but all the ethnic communities, because it's very, very important in all of our communities that people register and sign this up. And April 1st is the day that they're trying to get everybody to fill out the forms, because it means revenue to our different communities. It also means opportunities and jobs and those types of things. So I know Regina very well, and I know that she would pretty much say the same thing. But the bottom line is to get us to go out and get a complete count, because it affects our communities and our counties and our state.
Does it end at a certain point also?
Well, I imagine it would end probably in the end of April, from what I understand. But
Oh,
we're trying to get
okay.
everybody
Very
on
cool.
April 1st. They're
Okay.
targeting that date and preparing everyone to fill out this one sheet to get it in.
Okay.
And trying to get members, and they're going across the whole country, but also basically they're looking at all the community colleges and all the campuses, so people that normally don't count. Right?
Do I hear you saying that there will only be one sheet, or are there some census forms that are the longer version too?
Well, there probably is, I'm not so sure there's a longer version. I know there is one sheet that tried to make
Okay.
it real simple so
Okay.
people could fill it out, but they're targeting April 1st as the date to get everybody involved. So it'll carry on, but the basics, before they go out and start going house to house, they're trying to get as much information they can on the 1st of April.
April 5th day. Okay. We'll move on to new business, and under new business, does anybody have anything to share? And I didn't ask formally under public forum anything to share. We're going to talk a little bit about Advocacy Day, Advocacy Afternoon. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to start at the end of the day. If anybody has a flight that's leaving between 5 and 6 p.m. tonight, just so you know, the van will be leaving from in front of the Hyatt at 4:15. So if anybody's interested in hitching a ride on the van, that's your opportunity. So would you like to speak, Vice Chancellor Garcia?
Okay, for those of you who are staying for Advocacy Day meetings this afternoon, as soon as the board meeting adjourns, you have some free time, and we're going to be rearranging the room here so that we can set up for the briefing that's scheduled to start promptly at 11:30. The check-in for our guests to pick up your packets with all the information, the latest on your schedules, because as you know, this is always a changing dynamic, that meetings change or added, deleted. So you can get the most up-to-date schedule. At 11 o'clock, they'll be available in the 3rd floor conference room right in front of the elevators. You can pick up your name tag, your folders, and your latest schedule, and then bring them back here at 11:30, where we'll start the briefing. It'll be a short briefing. Then at noon, we're going to break for lunch, and we recommend that you lunch with your team so you can talk about strategy and approach, and then you can head off to your meetings as a team. But we'll have full details on the logistics and be able to answer any questions about your schedules or the materials in your packet at the briefing. I just want to make sure that you know. And then for the board members, I'll have your packets, and I can give them to you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or thoughts? Well, I'm sorry Regina missed it, but this meeting is adjourned.